August slipped away into a moment in time, because it was never mine. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. So just like that, we're already at the end of August, so I'm going through all the movies and shows that I watched in the month of August. Now, I'll let you know up front, this was a light month for me. I didn't really watch many new 2023 releases, didn't really watch many movies or shows in general. I was on a vacation for some of August. I was hanging out with a bunch of different friends in August, so I didn't watch as many new films. Plus, the new release slate wasn't really the greatest. Before I get into what I watched in August, hit that like button, comment down below your favorite movie and show that you watched in the month of August. Subscribe and hit that notification bell to help reach my goal of 85,000 subscribers here on the channel. And check out the Unusual Couple podcast, linked down below for weekly episodes with myself and my girlfriend Cam. We have a lot of fun with it. Plus, my Patreon is linked down below also. Let's just dive right in. And by the way, you can follow me on Letterboxd, linked down below for my review of all these movies, or at least me tracking when I watch the movies. So first I watched Whiplash, or should I say rewatched for the 100th time. This was on August 4th, and I actually showed it to my girlfriend Cam for the very first time. She had never seen it, and she really liked it. I myself love this movie, and this rewatch further solidified that it's easily in my top 10 to 7. On some days, it's almost top 5 for me. So happy that J.K. Simmons won the Oscar here. It's infinitely rewatchable, quotable, darkly comedic at times, and has one of the best endings I've seen in a movie, straight up. I'm elated as the credits roll. This movie kicks ass, and I'm so happy that I rewatched it and got to show it to Cam for the first time. Plus, the Letterboxd poster that I chose, because I have the Patreon feature, looks so cool. It's like a symbol with sweat and blood on it saying Whiplash. So clean. Then on August 8th, I watched Untold Johnny Football, which Untold, if you're unfamiliar with, is a Netflix series that does documentaries. I believe it's solely focused on sports, but I could be wrong. This one's about Johnny Manziel, who was the quarterback for the Texas A&M Aggies in the 2012 and 2013 college football seasons. He then went on to be on the Cleveland Browns in the NFL, but had a short-lived career due to some personal issues. And this documentary dives into all of that, his rise and fall, essentially. As he came into Texas A&M and won the Heisman Trophy as a freshman, he was the first ever freshman to do that. He completely changed the culture of Texas A&M football forever. I actually have a review of this doc with my friends over on 3 and Out. I'll put that up above, the link to it. Really enjoyed this. It was a deep dive into Manziel and how he got into some trouble with the NCAA regarding signing autographs, because this was before the rule change in the NCAA where you could have NIL and sign autographs for money and, sell your likeness for money, essentially. The NCAA has changed so much. That landscape over the past decade has changed drastically, and this documentary previews what it was like back then. Obviously, chronicling his sophomore season and some off-the-field troubles that may have led to the team underperforming, and then ultimately ending with his brief career in the NFL. I wish it was a little longer, got a little more of a deep dive into him, but it is what it is. I enjoyed it, and Johnny Manziel, I stand by this, is the most electric college football player I've ever watched, and I got to see him in person as I actually went to the Chick-fil-A Bowl in 2013 when Duke played Texas A&M. This was Johnny Manziel's last ever college game, and Texas A&M was down 25 at one point, and he led an awesome comeback. It's probably the best college football game I've ever attended. It was awesome. I then went on vacation not long after this, so I didn't really watch any new things, but the day I returned was August 16th, and I went and saw Blue Beetle at an early screening. I have a review of that linked up above. Wasn't crazy about this movie. The more I think about it, the less I like it. It's unfortunate because I wanted to love this film. My highlights were definitely Shilmer doing his performance as Jaime Reyes. He embodied that character, brought it to life with so much heart and charisma, and I know Show will be a star in the future. That is a fact. He's going to continue to crush it, in the final season of Cobra Kai, and whatever role he gets, he's going to give you his A-game, his best effort, and that was further proved here in Blue Beetle. The movie as a whole, though, was just really generic. Every major plot point, every reveal, all that, I saw it all coming from a mile away because I've seen this movie before in other superhero films. It felt like most of the major scenes in this movie were just other big comic book movie scenes that were repurposed for this, whether that's from Iron Man 1 or 2, Deadpool 2, the Spider-Man films, the Venom films, the list goes on and on. It just doesn't feel very original or unique, and I know a lot of people have said this feels like a fresh origin story. I differ strongly. Yes, Shilmer Dwayne is great, and the family dynamic is one of the strong points of the film, but as a whole, it's got real throwaway villains and is super predictable and generic, making it a movie that I haven't thought about much since I saw in theaters, and I actually bumped my score down to a 2.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, which is about 50%, which is maybe even too kind to it. It was just not great. Then Cam got to show me a few movies, so here are her picks. On August 22nd, I watched Another Cinderella Story, starring Selena Gomez and Drew Seeley. Now, I had seen parts of this movie on ABC Family growing up, and I could have sworn they put it on Disney Channel at one point, but I guess it was just ABC Family because I looked it up, and it never was on Disney Channel. But this movie is part of a series of films, almost like an anthology of Cinderella stories, and this is the second one that ever came came out. And movies like this just bring me back to my childhood in a way. Like, it came out in like 2008. And so, like, I had seen parts of it, but when I go back and watch it, it's just so 2000s, and it almost made me feel nostalgic in a way. Like, Drew Seeley can sing and dance like no other. He was, like, the voice of Disney for a bit there, as he actually sang for Zac Efron in the first High School Musical, did music for a movie I'll talk about in a second. Getting into it, I knew the story, but the music, the dancing, it just felt so distinctly 2000s. They don't really make movies like this anymore, and the same can be said for the first of these anthology movies called A Cinderella Story, starring Hilary Duff and Chad Michael Murray. I watched this one the next day, and this is, like I said, technically the first of this anthology series, and just like another Cinderella Story, this one is like a time capsule back into the early 2000s with the soundtrack and just the style of everyone in the movie. It is one of those coming-of-age high school flicks that makes me feel nostalgic in a way. It's got a great cast, by the way. Like I mentioned, Hilary Duff, Chad Michael Murray, Regina King is in this film, Jennifer Coolidge is in this movie. Like, there's a lot of bigger actors in this film, surprisingly. And as cheesy as it gets, I enjoyed it. Sometimes you just gotta embrace those movies that your girlfriend loves. That's the case with both these Cinderella Story movies. The cheesiness was real, especially in this first one, but I enjoyed my time with both and would watch them again. Then on the 24th, we had a double feature of the Cheetah Girls and the Cheetah Girls 2 because it was the anniversary of the Cheetah Girls 2 coming out, and I had seen parts of both these films growing up, but wasn't familiar enough with them to even classify it as a rewatch on Letterboxd. So I watched the first one, wasn't that great. Like, this movie's all over the place, and by the end, it turns into the Cheetah Girls singing in the street to rescue a dog who's trapped in this weird location on the street. Everyone's out in full force. It's a weird movie. And then there's the Cheetah Girls 2, which is like so much better, completely different. Much better movie. They go to Spain. The soundtrack is a banger. Like, it's High School Musical level bangers in this movie. Drew Seeley did some of the music for this film, and that shows. I cared more about the Cheetah Girls as a group. It's got more iconic moments. Just a better main plot line, and actually felt like a movie. The first one was like a prolonged episode of TV. Granted, they're both TV movies, but Cheetah Girls 2 felt more cinematic. I cared more about everybody involved in the story, and the music, the dancing, all of it, elevated times 1,000. Then on the 25th, it was my turn to pick the movies, so it was 2 rewatches of 2 of my favorite movies. School of Rock, which was Cam's first time watching, and The Social Network, which is obviously one of my all-time favorites. When it comes to School of Rock, I just had a hankering to watch this movie. I have a running list in my notes of movies to show Cam. This is one of those movies, and I was like, you know what? Let's watch this one. It's like a quick hitter, feel-good movie, and that's exactly what it is. Teacher's Pet is such a banger. I don't think it's on Spotify, like the Jack Black version. I've tried to find it. I would love to add that to like my musical playlist because it's just a bop. But regardless, this movie just hits. It's another one of those movies that I watched growing up, so I'm nostalgic for it. But Jack Black is so effortlessly hilarious in this. Like, every line, he's making me laugh out loud. He commits with his energy. This is like the definitive Jack Black role to me. When I think Jack Black, my mind directly goes to School of Rock. Cam enjoyed it. I'm glad she did, and this is one I own on Blu-ray and will watch for years to come. And then when it comes to The Social Network, I watch this movie a lot. So does Cam. It's one of her favorites, so I was like, hey, let's watch The Social Network again. And she was like, let's do it. So of course we rewatched that, and it solidified it as a top 3 movie all time for me. I'd always teetered with the idea of it being in my top 5, but it's in my top 3 right now. It's one of my most rewatched movies. I quote it constantly, and when I'm watching a movie and I can quote along, I'm like, okay, this is great. This is one of my favorites, and I need to just come right out and say it. So that does it for all the movies that I watched in the month of August, and if I watch any more on the last day of the month, I'll include that in September's video. But now let's talk about the TV shows that I watched. So we got a new Disney Plus show this month, Ahsoka, and I watched the first 2 episodes and have a review of those, which I will link up above, but I am loving what we've got so far. It just feels like classic Star Wars, and that's been missing for a while. Obviously, Andor was a big hit, The Mandalorian Seasons 1 and 2 were a big hit, but I compare this to Obi-Wan Kenobi, a show focused on a Jedi, and that one missed the mark so much. This picks up right where we left off with Star Wars Rebels, and it is pretty much a direct sequel to that, and I love what we're getting into. It's setting up the direction of the show, like the main goal of the heroes and the villains is evident early on, and that's something that's been lacking in a lot of other Disney Plus shows. It's not really got a lot of room to meander, so it has meaning and value. It really puts an emphasis on light versus dark, good versus evil, which I cannot emphasize enough is such a core value of Star Wars that I adore what we're getting so far. I have so much hope for the last 6 episodes. I really hope they stick the landing. As of this video dropping, I'll have seen the 3rd, but I haven't as of recording it. I'm sure I liked it though. I mean, come on, it's so great so far, and they're setting up the return of big characters from Rebels, but it has its own main storyline, and it's just great. It is what Star Wars should be, and we need more projects like this. I really hope this one sticks landing. It would be devastating if they drop the ball with this. Unfortunately, Disney Plus's track record isn't the best, so it's hard to have the most confidence, but I still have faith in Dave Filoni. And that's pretty much it for shows. The other show I've been watching is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's like my nightly routine to watch an episode or two in bed every night. And that show is hilarious. In fact, might be the funniest show I've ever seen. It's 100% my type of humor. Every episode, I'm busting out laughing harder than any other show I've watched, even Seinfeld, which is hilarious. This show is my humor to a T, and it is so damn funny. My buddy's actually watching the show for the first time as well, so we're kind of talking about it as we watch it. It is hilarious, and my TikTok For You page is just a ton of highlights from the show. It is the funniest show I've ever seen, and oh man, I want to go watch an episode right now. But yeah, that does it for everything I watched in the month of August. Again, a bit of a tamer month for me. September, I should be seeing a few more things, but as we get in October, November, December, I'll be watching a lot more 2023 releases for both movies and shows. But let me know down below in the comments your favorite movie and show that you watched for the month of August, and be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to help reach my goal of 85,000 subscribers here on the channel. And be sure to subscribe to the Unusual Couple podcast, link down below, weekly episodes with myself and my girlfriend Cam. We have lots of fun talking pop culture, movies, life, all that stuff. And if you want to go the extra mile with support, Patreon is linked down below. You get access to the Discord server and other perks. Anything goes a long way over there. But thank you guys, as always, for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.